What's going on, everyone? My name is UnderTheRadar and welcome back to the Draft League Viabilities. In this video, we're going to be talking about a Pokemon that I'm super excited to talk about. This is a Pokemon that I think has so much potential, and that is Zeraora. And by potential, I mean it's already proven to be absolutely phenomenal. This Pokemon is so unbelievably unique because it has a super amazing speed stat of 143, it has a really great ability in Volt Absorb, and it has a pretty freaking good move pool with access to amazing moves like Close Combat, Drain Punch, Fire Punch. Plasma Fist is a busted ability. It's so cool. Outrage for Z Outrage. It gets access to Knockoff. Taunt is really nice, and Volt Switch for momentum. Its unusual moves are pretty cool. The big ones that are mostly looked at that you guys can't really see because of the way I've cropped the screen is Throat Chop. Helps out with Pokemon like Sylveon. So what this Pokemon does that makes it amazing, in my opinion, is because it's so fast, and so many teams, because of the power creep, don't have great speed tiers in this generation. It can typically run a non-speed boosting nature almost every single game, and it can still be fast enough to outspeed a lot, bulky enough, and offensive enough. It gets access to another really good setup move in Bulk Up, which is really cool. I've used that before. I've used Bulk Up, Drain Punch. I've even used it to beat a regular Steelix, which is insane. So as a Z move user, it's phenomenal. And another thing that makes this Pokemon really good is that it gives you a speed tier that automatically gives you a phenomenal cleaner, and you can pair this thing up with so many things because so many amazing Pokemon in Draft League format are super weak to electric. Celesteela, I'm going to say Landorus because it's quad weak to ice and most electric types just run hidden power ice. This thing can actually switch in on them because of Volt Absorb and being bulky enough to take hidden power ices. Garchomp, same exact scenario. Suicune, one of the best walls. Toxapex, one of the best walls in Draft League format, all weak to electric type, and now you have a really good electric immunity that's not a grass type, so or not a ground type, so you're able to switch on hidden power ices very well. I've used this thing to 1v1 Tapu Kokos before with like leftovers and Volt Absorb with enough bulk. I saw my buddy Jolt use a very fast sub-toxic Protect Plasma Fist set, and it literally 1v1'd, or it 1v6'd almost an entire draft. It was absolutely stupid. So this thing has a lot of uniqueness to it. MV has used it phenomenally in APA. It so good. So to build around this thing and make it really good, the first thing you need hazard stack, and I think that you need offensive hazard stack, so I'm going to suggest Scolipede. Scolipede gives you spikes, it gives you toxic spikes, it gives you another really good speedy mon, and it gives you another really good Z-move user, but another thing it does for you is it gives you a really good way of killing fairies. This thing can kill a lot of bulky typings. It can kill a lot. With Close Combat plus Plasma Fist, you can break down bulky waters, bulky steels, you can beat down bulky psychics with Knockoff, you can beat down bulky grasses with Fire Punch, you can beat down bulky dragons with like Z Outrage, so it can break down a lot of things, but the main thing that this thing cannot break down reliably is bulky fairies, and Scolipede gives you a really good way of doing that. By having up toxic spikes and by having up spikes, you make it to where Zeraora, it will always break sashes, it will always make it to where things are taking really good damage, and once things take like 20%, most things are going to die to a Plasma Fist as long as they're not like ground types that are super fat. So Scolipede plus Zeraora, phenomenal combination starting off. I think that you need to get something that is super weak to electric and something that doesn't really appreciate taking many electric hits at all. So of course I'm going to suggest Suicune. If you want to, you can put Toxapex here and then take off Scolipede for a different Pokemon like a Scizor if you wanted to. Another really good way of breaking down fairies, and you still keep toxic spikes with Toxapex. However, I dislike Toxapex personally. I strongly dislike Toxapex. I've found that it's just way too passive for me, and I don't really like it. Whereas Suicune, while it's still kind of passive, Calm Mind Coon, Vincoon, this Pokemon beats its counters. It's stupid. I've seen this thing beat Shamans before. Like, it's so good. So you have a really good way of switching in on the electric types with like a Zeraora. If you put like an assault vest on it, it can take hidden power ices. It can do a lot. So Suicune plus Scolipede give you a lot of really good natural coverage for this. Now this is a pretty good I'm in high-ish tier. They're both usually, these three are usually tier 3s. I'm sorry, tier 2s. So because of that, you're looking at a pretty expensive draft already, losing potentially 240 points. So you need a little bit of a lower tier mon. Something that I think is not essential, but almost needed is a really, really good way of switching in to ground moves. You already have Suicune, but I would suggest a good low tier bulky grass type. A good one that comes to mind is Chestnut. The reason why I suggest Chestnut is because it gives you another spiker. It gives you a way of taking things like Shadow Ball, but most importantly, it gives you Spiker plus Leech Seed, and Leech Seed can really help out with Suicune, and it gives you a really good switch into electric types that is not Zeraora. So you have a really good bulky core, a really good Fizz-Def Mon to help take some pressure off of Suicune, and this thing, it has good coverage, and a lot of people always say you better be prepared for like Belly Drums, Salac Berry, Chestnut. I don't think it's that good personally, but I've seen people use it and I've seen it do pretty well. But this thing also helps not beat Bulky Waters, but it can help pressure Bulky Waters to put them in range of a single Plasma Fist instead of them living potentially a Plasma Fist, and that also makes it to where Scolipede can be more offensive. So with this, I would also suggest that you get a really good ground type. Something that really pops out to me is actually Steelix, but I would go Mega Steelix for this. And the reason why I would go Mega Steelix for this is because of this insane Fizz-Def stat. This means that Suicune isn't going to be forced into your Fizz-Def roll every time. It is going to be forced into a more Spidef roll so far, but if you get something like a Licky Licky for Wish Pass, it won't be. And then you can have your tier 1, you can have some spare points with Steelix to make up for your 3 tier 2s. But this gives you Stealth Rocks. This gives you really, I love Steelix. I think it's a phenomenal Pokemon. But Stealth Rocks and another Fizz-Def Mon that is resistant to flying is really, really good. These are both weak to fire, which Suicune can help out really well with. So again, I mentioned Licky Licky, and I'm going to throw that on here because it's a really good tier 5, but most importantly, it gives you Wish Pass. And Wish Pass is really important whenever you have things like Suicune and Steelix that can't reliably recover themselves. Licky Licky makes it really easy for you too. So if you want to use this as a cleaner, this is a breaker, and then just bulk that people can't break through, this is the type of team you want to go for. There's also some really good offense that I can think of that goes with this. So you really break through the vast majority of typings already with this team. You break through things like Bulky Waters, Fairies, Steels, and Psychics. Fairies, I mean, you have Steelix, and Steelix gives you like Gyro Ball and Heavy Slam, which is really, really good. Fighting types are a little scary for this team, so I would suggest a Ghost type. You don't really need a Fat Ghost, so like another low tier mon could be Mismagius if you wanted it to, or I'm suggesting Mismagius over something like a Gengar because Gengar is really high tier, typically tier 2. It gives you another Poison type, which makes you a little bit more weak to Psychic type because you would have a Gengar, a Scolipede, and a Chestnut. You could replace Scolipede with Gengar if you wanted to, because you already have spikes, but then you would just need a different Toxic Spiker. There's tons of good ones. There's Drapion, which would give you a Dark type. There's a bunch of really cool things, but ultimately I do think that you need to build with this team, around Zeraora, it needs a more bulky team if you want it to be the kill leader, because you want a team to get really good chip damage off on everything and prevent everything from setting up with Roar. I believe this gets Roar as well. Yeah, it does get Roar. With this getting Roar and this getting Dragon Tail, you're like keeping yourself from getting set up on with a bunch of different things, and you can just continuously get off really good chip damage for Zeraora to come in and clean up the entire game. I think that this combination of 6, like if you saw these 6 in a battle, it would be really hard for people to break through. Like things like really big ones, like really big wall breakers that come to mind, like Thundy, Torn, Lando. They all struggle with this because like it needs Z-Fly for this, but then Earthquake doesn't really break this too well. Like it's Ice Fang, Speed Boost Scolipede. If it busted Z-Fly on this, then it can't really break through Suicune. So Torn, it can't really break through the combination of Coon, Licks, and Licky. So overall, I definitely think that this is a really good starting point for people to build around. If you need like another 5 Pokemon, you can still get your tier 1, a tier 4, and I think a tier 3, and then you would have 2 more free picks, I think is what it would be. So very also, this would always be Oblivious, so you don't get taunted. But yeah, very cool mon to build around. And with this, you have your bulk. You don't really need much more bulk than this, so you can go like bulky offense, or you can go like super offense with your last 5 picks. You can do a bunch of different things, but ultimately, I definitely think that this is the way that you want to build around it, with really good Wish Pass, bulk, and a lower tier Mega. So that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the description below. Also, make sure you guys are leaving some suggestions for stuff. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.